Sports gambling is ruining the UFC at this point. Back in the day, we used to hear about scandals that would happen with like Pete Rose, referees shaving points, but it wasn't that often. People would get in trouble. The government started stepping in and putting these guys behind bars, and people would stop doing it. But at this point, I'm watching the UFC, other sports, and people are fixing shit left and right. Like nothing can go wrong. Like they can't get in trouble. Let's talk about the UFC last week. There was 2 eye poke wins. Most notably, it was Chris Weidman who had an eye poke before he TKO'd Bruno Silva by eye poke, double eye poke, and nothing happened. Even worse, the guys up top decided the fight would go to a decision based on what was happening from round 1 and 2. Who knows? Bruno Silva would have knocked him out in the last 4 minutes. But we were robbed of that because of sports gambling. That whole card was questionable. Fighters that got a certain amount of time to recover and get back up and fight. Gary Copeland did not do a good job. I'm suspicious of what he's doing and what he's getting himself into. But this has been a trend in the UFC recently. You see, these days it's different than the past. In the past, it was very hard to sports gamble. Let's say you lived in a place where sports gambling wasn't legal, like Hawaii, for example. You had to fly out to Vegas to put a sports bet. Or if you lived in like Colorado, you had to drive 2 hours to go to the casino and 2 hours back to place a bet. What if you lost? And of course, there were mom and pop shops that were copying Vegas's formats for sports betting. And a lot of times they wouldn't pay out, or there would be problems like that would happen. Now it's very convenient. These powerful billion-dollar industry casinos have made it where you can just download the app, upload your ID, proof of residence, and you're good to go. Which is fun. I mean, you can place a bet instantly. I know I do. I know I have a lot of fun with it, but at the same time, it's ruining the integrity of the sport. Back in the day, you used to hear about scandals. Not very often, but you would. These days, they happen in front of your face. Nobody cares. Nobody cares because if there's 50,000 people complaining about a decision, there's another 50,000 backing it up. Because everybody's divided, because everybody's betting. That's harsh. That's very bad for the sports. And I see it with the UFC. As soon as somebody gets dropped, the fight's over. The referees are quick to pull the trigger, and they hide behind the fact that, oh, these fighters are going to get CTE if we don't step in. But back in the day, it was more entertaining where fighters can go out like warriors or like have comebacks, have a chance for a comeback. But I believe a lot of what's pushing this is like sports betting. I'm sure the referees can do it. I'm sure the judges can do it. That's why we get so many bad decisions these days. And even though the UFC banned gambling from the fighters, they still got ways of doing it. Look at James Krause. The coach was betting, giving out information about who's injured, and made a lot of money. These fighters can definitely go to a family member and place a bet on their behalf. Look at Shohei Ohtani. That's what he got in trouble for. Getting kind of out of hand at this point. I believe sports betting is very bad for the sport, and I'm seeing it every week. It's hard to rely on any fighter or anything that's going to happen because the referees get involved. Some referees just take points away or disqualify people in an instant or stop the fight right away. Judges are corrupt. Even the fighters are corrupt themselves. Look at like Vicente Luque versus Buckley. I'm sure Vicente Luque just gave up, but a lot of people are saying this guy could have thrown the fight. It looked like that, but I think he just gave up. I mean, nobody gets stopped from full guard, but Luque, who's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, iron chin, can take it, tough as nails, just decided to give up. So, I don't know, but I think the sport is becoming weird because of sports betting. And they're promoting it as well. ESPN's promoting it. They're all for it. But my thing is, I need you guys to be careful when you're putting bets on the UFC or any other sport these days because you never know what can happen. Anyways, tell me what you think in the comments. Have a good one.